So data as a product is everywhere. We don't even realize that we are actually using data as a product. We are a culprit of data as a product. And some of the examples of that is Netflix recommendations. The happy face that we have when we see that the next show that we actually wanted to watch is already recommended by Netflix. Or I'm a big shopaholic, and when I know that all of my favorite shopping brands know the next thing that I want to buy and they show it on my homepage, is when I'm really intrigued to stick to the brand. First of all, it improves customer loyalty, and also I don't want to go to a brand that doesn't understand my preferences, right? So all of these examples basically make your customer experience more seamless, and at the same time, as I said, increase brand loyalty.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of 34 Data Channel podcast. I'm your host Deepak, and with me we have Supreet Kaur. Supreet is an assistant vice president at Morgan Stanley, leading the development of cutting edge AI products for the fintech industry. As a prolific speaker and content creator, Supreet actively shares her insights on data, AI, and business trends, further establishing herself as a thought leader in the industry. It's a pleasure to have you here today, Supreet, and thank you so much for accepting my invitation.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited for the conversation.
Great. So my first question: in the context of data products, how would you define the concept and its significance in today's technological landscape?
Yeah, so I think there is a lot of noise and a lot of content that's available for data products and data as a product. So for this podcast, we will obviously focus on data as a product because I feel that's my expertise. I've done many projects where we have treated data as a product. Right. So, what essentially data as a product means is when you recognize that data holds intrinsic value and can be treated as a valuable asset. And in today's landscape, when companies are rushing to adopting AI and technology, treating data as an asset makes sense. You obviously have to look towards data first if you want to build any successful product, any successful data driven product, I would say. And it also, another feature of data as a product is that you treat data with the same strategic importance as any other tangible product. So it involves collecting, organizing, analyzing, packaging data to make it valuable, actionable, and accessible to multiple stakeholders within the organization.
Right. Makes sense. So, can you explain the key factors that make data products and how organizations can leverage it effectively as per your expertise?
Yeah, so there are multiple factors that go into making it relevant, right? And especially in large organizations, legacy organizations, doing this process can somewhat be complicated. But there are some key factors that can determine the success of you treating data as a product, right? So the first is relevance. You obviously need relevant data that you're serving as a product and treating like an asset. So you really need to dig deep into all your data pipelines, all your data dictionaries, the data that's available, and see what is more relevant to what the organization is trying to achieve in the next 5 or 10 years. So you have to align it with that relevance or the goals of your team or your organization. Second is definitely data quality that plays a major role when you are embarking this journey. By data quality, I not only mean that you do basic data quality checks just to ensure that your data is of high quality, but you actually need to develop frameworks that can check your data quality continuously over time and can alarm you in case there is a drift that is observed, right? And that is very common because user preferences keep changing. We have one-off events like pandemic, so your data will keep evolving. So it's important to monitor it. And I think the third one that I'll say, which is again very important, is about data privacy and security. So you need to ensure that you are masking the PII, you have proper accessibility and privacy frameworks in place. And by that, I mean that you have a system where not everyone's getting access to all the data, but it's also that people are not deprived of data. And they have to go through like 10 hoops just to get the data. So you have to come in the middle and develop a concept or a framework just so that people are able to get the data, but at the same time, the privacy of the customers is retained.
Right, right. So in this regard, like, how does the concept of data products impact the traditional understanding of data management and governance?
Yeah, I think the traditional understanding of data management and governance focused primarily on data as an operational asset, right? And it emphasizes aspects like storage, security, compliance. But with the concept of data as a product, there's a shift in perspective towards treating data as an asset that can drive strategic insights, decision making, innovation within the organization. So basically, now you are broadening the scope of data management and you're including aspects like data quality, accessibility, relevance for various stakeholders that they might or might have not, I would say, looked at before. So it basically increases the scope of how data governance and management works. And at the same time, they also now have to work more efficiently and swiftly because if you're treating data as a product, you are rapidly evolving it. You're rapidly using it to create your data-driven products. So they have to move a little faster than they would have in the previous era.
Right, right. So based on your experience, like, could you share some examples of some of the data products which you have actually seen, which made a significant impact?
Yeah, I think we all are, I would say, using data as a product every day, and somehow we are part of it, right? And I would take examples like when you watch your favorite Netflix show, or Netflix already knows what your favorite show is, or when you get those personalized recommendations on Amazon and you're so happy that, oh my God, I just wanted to buy this. All of this is a result of data as a product. It is data that is doing its magic, feeding into the model and giving you those personalized recommendations, and you're making your customers happy. But that's a very complicated example, right? A proper engine in place. Even if I talk about simple things, like during my consulting days, I have created multiple dashboards for my clients just to compare them against the other competitors for a disease area, or just comparing them against different products and seeing how is the demand increasing or decreasing for products, right? So those are very simple day-to-day examples that we all are involved with, which is also data as a product.
Right, right. So, in terms of implementations, like, what are some of the challenges and consideration that is revolving around the development and monetizing the data product? And I know the monetization part is quite important and it's extremely tough. So, like, could you talk about some of the challenges in this?
Yeah, so I would start with monetization, right? Because I know that when organizations are treating anything as a product, the first thing that comes into mind is how will I make money out of this, right? Obviously, when you talk about a simple data as a product like a dashboard, you might not really be monetizing on it directly, but indirectly it can impact your revenue strategy because when you're trying to understand the competitive landscape, or you're just trying to understand, okay, what my customers are preferring over the other, you are making informed choices to build your next strategy. So indirectly it is impacting your monetization strategy as well. But if you want to sell data as a product and directly get, I would say, remuneration for it, so organizations must obviously identify the target market, the value proposition, the pricing model, the go to market strategies for the products, right? So you need to really think about, okay, through this product, what am I achieving? What is the end goal? That end goal, there are companies who sell market research, right? That is also a data as a product that they are selling. You can do that. Other firms I don't know if you've heard about it, but there's a very popular concept of synthetic data. There are companies who actually provide you and sell you synthetic data, right? That is also data as a product which you can use. But at the end of the day, if you are like already a service organization, or you are already providing products and service, or if you're like a bank, obviously you can't sell anything for data. The only thing that you can use it is to impact your strategy for the next 4, 5, 6 years.
Right, right. So, across the implementation side, like how does the integration of data products affect the AI lifecycle from data acquisition and pre-processing to model development and deployment?
Yeah. I think data as a product has the most one of the most powerful use cases of data as a product is in the AI life cycle, because ultimately AI products are driven by data. So you need that high quality, uh, I would say high privacy integrated data, right? And how do you do it? Is if you start treating data as a product and you start ensuring all the other factors that I've spoken about around privacy, high quality data, continuously collecting data, continuously monitoring data, your AI lifecycle and your AI solutions will already be top notch, right? And so, though you might not get direct dollars, but just building that effective AI strategy will ultimately lead you to new customers, hence monetizing it. So that's another way to think about it, right? And another thing is, I just mentioned about Netflix recommendation system, Amazon recommendation system. All of these are products and that kind of show us the power of data, and when you harness it properly, what good can come out of it and how happy it can make the customers. So these are examples that we should think about when we're thinking about our AI strategy as well.
Right. So, you did touch upon some of these aspects in the previous questions, but like in your experience, what are some of the ethical implications associated with data products, particularly in terms of privacy, security, and potential biases?
Yeah, I think I've touched privacy and security, so I will pay a little bit more attention and maybe talk more about the biases, because that is again a very important topic and it's a problematic thing, right? So data products can obviously inadvertently inherit biases, right? Because these biases are present all around us. Biases are present inside us, and they kind of get show or get reflected in the data, especially collected by customers or wherever human is involved, right? So when we are collecting these data sets, or when you're thinking about it as a product, it's important to have a very diverse and representative data sets. Otherwise, your AI models or whatever you are trying to achieve at the end of the day will also show those inherent biases, which you obviously don't want. So if you're collecting a sample, you have to make sure that you are including everyone, right, in your data set. And you are also conducting regular audits to identify potential biases. And again, this fairness and bias is not a one-off exercise. You just cannot do it, okay, because I'm creating a dashboard, I'm going to do it and relax. This is again a continuous monitoring exercise that you have to do continuously. And I think one more thing I would like to highlight here is that I personally have observed examples where I use AI products day in and day out, in my life, and to kind of just increase my productivity. And I know most of them are data driven. If you see any of the image generation AI products, or if you're like trying to create your headshot, there are certain aspects that those algorithms still miss, because there are not many people like me who they have in their data set. So they're not able to clearly represent me. And maybe I'm sure like other females or other people of color feel the same, right? So this is also again a clear example that how bias does exist, and AI products right now are struggling to combat it.
Right. So one question which came to my mind when you said that you are using a lot of these kind of tools in your day-to-day life. So like, are you fine giving off your data for data providers or cloud source providers for further improving their products and solutions?
I mean, again, right? Like, I don't really mind as long as it's not my very private data, right? Like my SSNs or things like that. Obviously, then I'll have issue, because that can kind of impact a lot in my life. But I feel like a lot of the AI products that I use, just even as a baseline, right, do have those inherent biases. And I'm not saying that we should stop using AI products. I am an evangelist and I would say everyone, build the products, improve the products, and use it for your everyday life. But at the same time, these are the things that we need to discuss openly, right? And then think about innovative solutions on how to deal with this.
Right, right. And what do you believe, like, in terms of the increasing usage of generative AI in nowadays
Correct.
tool set
Mm,
and like different applications? So, the amount of bias is actually increasing pretty much. So, what do you
correct.
believe? Like, is it the way we need to intend to use it, or like do we need some sort of regulations to ensure that the development of these kind of stack is built in a responsible way?
Yeah, I think you already touched upon it, that that's the responsible AI frameworks that a lot of leaders talk about. And I know that there are people in the White House, and then there are these researchers who are actually sitting and developing frameworks which maybe organizations can use, and other people can leverage. Those are very important, right? And those kind of serve as a checklist. When you have your data product or when you have your AI product in place, there are certain checks, and those should be mandatory, right? That should go through before the product is launched in production. And I would say regulated industries already have a upper hand because there is model review committee, there's a fairness and bias committee, and all of these committees ensure that when the product goes live, it is built in a responsible way and no one is left behind, right? But the question is, are the tech companies doing the same, or are other firms doing the same? First of all, it could be about the resources. Do they have the frameworks? What about the small companies? What about the startups? Right? So a lot of those questions still need to be figured out.
Okay, okay. So one of the big question which comes to these business leaders when we speak about responsible and ethical AI is how they can still preserve the value and impact at the same time.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
how this can be addressed, and how can we build this kind of data products, ensuring that we still have the monetization possible?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel that for for all the data, as a product, you don't really need to use private customer information. Even when you're thinking about building models, like things like gender, age, SSNs, or anything that might cause bias in your model can essentially be masked, right? Now, obviously, there are use cases like if you're trying to predict cancer, right? For those things, obviously, you need age, you need gender, because that will play as an important factor in your prediction process. But for those use cases also, after you have built everything, you have fairness metrics, you have libraries and open source tools available that you can check, okay, whether my algorithm is biased or not. But if you just see industry trends, right, or general frameworks that maybe 50 to 60% of the companies are working on, I think that is where we really need to see, is this convenience, or do I really need to use my customer private information? If I'm using, have I received the appropriate consent? Right? Like the healthcare firms, or if you go to a doctor, you usually sign some documents saying that, okay, this information can be used for research or things like that. Are you taking proper consent? That is another thing, right? If you have, then, you can go ahead with there are a lot of customers that will say, okay, yeah, sure, go ahead, right? So those are the things that you need to think about.
Right, right. At the same time, actually, there are a lot of applications which are made illegally as well. So one of the big example was like there is a ChatGPT clone which is happening in the dark web. So that is
Correct.
one thing, and another thing which comes to my mind is like voice cloning. I still can't
Correct.
admit the fact that voice cloning is still legal, and how they are able to package it. So what can be done for these kind of examples as per your understanding, and like what should be the approach in attempting these
Yeah.
kind of use cases?
Yeah, I mean, these are like the hard ones, right? I honestly, even I don't know if there is a solution yet. I know, I mean, I'm not a researcher, so I don't know if there is any way, but definitely it's very scary to think. I know that within ChatGPT as well, if you give it certain prompts, you jailbreak, right? And you can make it do things that it was not meant to do. And I was taking this course by OpenAI where they actually tell you what kind of prompts can be used. I mean, it's more for awareness, of other people, that see, if you say this, then ChatGPT is going to reveal things that it's not supposed to reveal, right? So, will this end in the next 4 5 years if everyone's taking it seriously? Maybe, right? Can the model become smarter? Can we add guardrails? But will the utility still be the same? I think all of those are like open questions still. I don't have the answer for it right now, but it'll be good to see what happens. Yeah.
Right, right. So my next question. So what are the emerging trends and future prospects for data products, and how do you see them shaping the AI landscape in the coming years?
Yeah, I think I can think about like four trends that personally I'm really excited about. The first one being data democratization and also AI democratization, right? So the trend towards data democratization will continue where organizations are focusing on making data more accessible and usable for a wider range of users. They want to create tools and technologies that not only technical folks but as well as our business stakeholders can actively use, and something as simple as GPT, right? But I would say something that kind of fits within their organization. It could be a simple dashboard with a chat feature where your business stakeholders are interacting and asking questions on the fly. So that will free up some time for data analysts and business analysts who might be actively coding for them and giving them those answers. So that is one trend that I feel industry is going towards. Second being augmented analytics, right, which basically combines your artificial intelligence, machine learning with analytics tools to automate the data preparation, insights generation, visualization, and something that I spoke about, which is plugging the chat feature with your dashboard. That is also an example of augmented analytics. So I also see those products coming into play as and when these technologies become more available and accessible. Then federated learning is another one, which basically allows organizations to collaboratively train machine learning models and using data from different sources while keeping the data decentralized and preserving privacy. There are multiple startups that are coming right now to provide you these federated learning solutions. But all of this is again only possible if you have high quality data. And obviously, the next one being, as I mentioned, synthetic data. Since a lot of companies are focused on retaining the privacy of their customers, synthetic data seems like the obvious next solution. That if you have 100 records, you want to mask all the private information, let's generate dummy records and continue our research and model, right? So that is another trend that I'm very excited about.
Right. So do you believe, like, in terms of the data democratization part which you mentioned, do you believe the tech giants are actually withholding good quality data for their research and development?
That you should ask them. I'm not sure if they are holding something, but I think even if you are an organization, a legacy organization, you don't have to be a tech firm, to do data democratization. If you're a fintech, you're just starting out, then you can start with synthetic data, ultimately build on your data stack. But if you're a legacy organization, I think now is the time to look at all the data that is available and then think hard about what kind of products can come out of this and how you can empower the business users within your organization.
Right, right. So that covered all my questions, Supit, and thank you so much for shedding light on this interesting topic.